Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Event Industry News Podcast. My name is James Dixon, wishing you all a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you join today's podcast from. And on with today's episode. Our guest today joins us from Fanomena Events, and his name is Lennart Hohneck. Lennart, thanks very much for joining the podcast today.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
Lennart is the business unit lead at Fanomena Events and is joined the podcast today to talk a little bit about this product, to talk about some rebranding that the company has gone through. I've also got my partner in crime here because I'm recording from home today. This is Mabel the dog, who is the new podcast mascot. She's just wanted to get in on the action there as well. And as I said, Lennart is going to be talking to us about rebranding and about some of the work that Fanomena Events do in the technology sector. So Lennart, thanks for joining the show. You're a first-time guest. Tell us a little bit about what your role and what you actually do at Fanomena Events.
Of course. So thanks for the introduction, first of all. And yeah, my name is Lennart, and I'm the business unit lead at Fanomena Events. So at Fanomena, what we do is that we try to improve the technical environment in the event industry. And especially at Fanomena Events, we provide a digital sponsoring technology for event organizers. And the idea is to give event organizers the possibility to bring their sponsors into the foreground and connect them with the attendees of an event in a digital way. So at Fanomena, I am responsible for that particular product and involved in marketing, sales, and all the activities around it.
And before we get into what it, how it works and why it was developed, the product itself was known as Eventbaxx and was rebranded recently, as I understand it, to Fanomena Events. Where does the genesis of this particular product come from, and why the desire to find a platform and a technology that would link organisers and sponsors?
Yeah, exactly. So as you said, we recently rebranded from Eventbaxx, which some of you might know, to Fanomena Events. And yeah, to give a bit of a background about that, so Eventbaxx was founded in 2015. And the origin of it actually was that one of our founders was actually packing goodie bags for events himself. And he did it all day and he was kind of fed up with it because he said, okay, this is not effective at all. 80% of these goodie bags end up in the trash either way. There must be a better solution to it. And that's how we came up with Eventbaxx, which started off as being a digital version of these goodie bags to make it more sustainable, first of all, but also measurable how people interact with these actions from sponsors. So that's how we came up with the idea in the first place. And then Eventbaxx developed over some years. So we've been on the market for 3.5 years before the rebranding. And then, especially because we came up with two other products, Fanomena Leads and Fanomena Talent, it was kind of misplaced to still be called Eventbaxx. So we aligned it with the other products and went to Fanomena Events now.
And it's interesting when you talk about this idea of digital. I know when you go on your website, the phrase digital goodie bag crops up quite regularly when you're talking about the history of the product. And I'm sure we've all been to events where we've received goodie bags. They're placed either on the chairs at a conference or perhaps they're handed to you as you walk into a trade fair or an exhibition. And I suppose there's several questions that arise in the current climate. The subject of sustainability and whether or not it's sustainable and correct now to be handing out physical stuff that a lot of which could be thrown away and it generates rubbish, it generates waste. There's a question mark over cost because, of course, the sponsors that are providing those goodie bags have to perhaps guess or estimate how many they're going to need. And if they get that incorrect and they end up with loads and loads left. I've seen examples before where there have been boxes and boxes of goodie bags left over at the end of a particular exhibition. So I suppose this idea of doing it digitally and allowing sponsors to engage that way changes the landscape a little bit, doesn't it? It reduces the cost for them. It makes it more sustainable. How long did it take to sort of really see momentum gather with the product itself and for people to actually identify this as maybe a more strategic way to do it?
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with what you said. So sustainability, of course, is one of the main reasons why we came up with the product at all. And I've been to a trade fair recently and you just see massive amounts of these goodie bags really ending up in the trash minutes after being handed out. And also for the sponsors, it's like a bit of frustrating to not know whether people interacted with it, and even assuming that they didn't because they just take the bag, take maybe out the drink, and then all the rest ends up in a bin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we think this wasn't efficient at all, and that's why we came up with this new idea. And your other question, so it took some time for people to get used to it, and especially it's not like, okay, we take out the goodie bags and just do a digital one. It's like a process that started, and a lot of people use like both solutions right now. So they still have the physical goodie bag, but in a little amount, and use our solution as an alternative to move a step forward to digitization.
Of course, one of the first questions that springs to mind for me, and I'm sure has sprung to mind with our podcast listeners who are tuning in today, is, okay, fundamentally the idea of not having the actual physical bags themselves in terms of being more sustainable is a good idea. But if you've got somebody who wants to give out portable chargers, which is a common gift to give out in these bags, or USB sticks that contain information about the company, or some sort of physical product, what do they then provide digitally to provide in order to satisfy the requirement for a physical product that they would have previously been giving out to visitors?
Yep, so that's a good question, and something that a lot of our customers ask right away when we present this. So we have a lot of possibilities to display the sponsored content in our goodie bag solution. And one of them is by working with e-vouchering. That means in the goodie bag, they can find a voucher that, for example, says, okay, you can redeem your portable charger at our booth. But in that way, it's not like everyone is given a charger without wanting to have one, but only the people who actively want one get one. And the even better thing for the sponsors or exhibitors is that they get in touch with the potential customer, and they hand it over to him, they get a personal conversation, and they get a lot of more visitors at the booth compared to just seeing that a goodie bag is handed out.
I see. And I suppose though that you've got to do that in a very, I don't know if creative is the right word to describe it, but if somebody has a booth or a stand at a trade fair, an exhibition, they will often have some sort of product on the stand to give out, whether that's a bowl of USB sticks or pens or whatever it may be. Why would a company then choose to invest the money to actually be part of a digital platform that is directing people to that? Why not just have their booth and just hand it out to the people who are walking past? What's the spin for the organisers and the actual sponsors themselves to maybe take that digitally and be on a particular platform?
Yeah, so first of all, it's about raising awareness. So, I mean, normally people just walk around the exhibition and they see, okay, you have something for free, so they might take it, but then walk on. But with our solution, you can actively target people to go to your booth when they are interested in the solution and get them in touch with that free product sample. And I think here again, a very important factor is like measurability. So we provide very detailed statistics on all the interactions. So we can also tell the sponsor or exhibitor afterwards, okay, 1,000 people have looked at your advertisement for the product, and in the end, 500 have redeemed it on site. So you have a very good conversion rate, and people were interested in that product, which you don't know when you just have them laying there in front of you.
Absolutely, and straight away you make a very valid point there that if you supply an exhibition or a convention with 1,000 paper goodie bags branded with your company, again, I've seen scenarios before where left over in the storeroom at the end of the event are boxes of the goodie bags left over. Nobody has made an effort to come in and count those, which means they don't actually know how many have been distributed. Nobody knows how many have ended up in the trash or into the rubbish. So there's no measurability in how successful really those bags were, other than, just seeing how many people are walking around with them. So there is this desire now globally to actually look at statistics and analyze data and see how much has actually been effective.
Yep, that's true. So actually the sponsors or exhibitors are often even lied to, because people tell them, okay, your advertising will be seen by 10,000 of people, but they just take the numbers that are visiting the show, and they don't even measure the number of people who actively took such a goodie bag. And then again, even if they take it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they looked at the particular flyer from sponsor XYZ. And that's the thing that we can change with our solution, because we not just deliver numbers on the overall opening of the goodie bag, but particularly of each individual sponsor. So everyone can get his individual report and really determine for himself how successful was my campaign and what was my return on investment on it.
Sure. And I guess by taking it digitally, you are allowing sponsors to maybe get a little bit more creative, you know, rather than the traditional gifts that they would give out in a physical goodie bag. You are offering them an opportunity to maybe sit down with a completely clean slate and think, okay, what could we offer people? What do they need? What would they like? You know, what's going to offer an incentive to them? How do we maybe engage them with our own products and services? How much interaction do you have with the actual sponsors themselves to maybe offer them any ideas about what they could do? Is that something that generally you would just leave to the organisers and their sponsors, or do you get involved in that side of things as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We, especially as a young company, we still lay a lot of emphasis on helping our organizers and the sponsors in making the most of our solution.
Mm-hmm.
So on the one side, we support the organizers in creating the platform itself and inviting their sponsors. But even more, we even support the sponsors in the creation of the process, because this is something they probably haven't used before. So it's new to them, and we want to make them feel comfortable with the solution and create the advertisement they want to. And I also agree what you said before with a lot of different possibilities of creating such an advertisement. There's a lot more room for creativity than with a casual flyer or giveaway, because we can even use like gamification elements to make it a bit more playful. So a funny example from a customer of ours was that he had like a game. So at his exhibition booth, there was an amount of motorcycles next to it. Mm-hmm. And the question in our goodie bag was, okay, how many motorcycles are at our stand? So in order to answer the quiz, they actually had to go to the booth, have a look at what they have, and then they could answer the question in order to take part in the quiz and even get a prize out of it. So it was like a playful interaction with the audience and very engaging for the sponsor and the attendee.
Absolutely. From an integration point of view, how does it work? Because does it stand alone as something separate, or can it be integrated with an existing platform that an organizer may already use?
So first of all, to explain the process a bit, so our solution is fully web-based, so it is not an app that people would need to download or register for. And that's on purpose, because in that way, people can use it from any device, be it their smartphone, desktop, or tablet, and even ahead of the event if they like to. And as you said, we can integrate in almost every solution. So we've worked with a lot of event organizers that already had an existing event application, and there's no problem of integrating our solution into such a thing, because we have an open API and can adjust to a lot of different environments.
And one thing that raises my curiosity is why, once an organizer finds out about what Fanomena can do for them and the principle of the actual platform and what it does, why would they not just look to sell advertising or sell links within their own event app? You know, it strikes me as a very effective but a very simple solution to what you're delivering here, but one that maybe could be copied in its basic sense quite easily. Is that something that you've come across, and how would you say to an organizer, look, this is really the benefit of using our platform and what we've designed, compared to just putting a link or an advert on your own event app?
Yeah, so a lot of event apps actually even have a sponsor tab, but it's very poor most of the time. So it's just the sponsor logos with a link to their web page. And many times it's not even trackable, so you can't even really tell how many people interacted with it. And if it is, it's very, very scarce. So it's just about the link clicks. So our solution really is a bit more immersive. So you have a lot of design opportunities, as said before, a lot of different options to engage with the audience. And the reporting scheme is one of the best on the market that I'm aware of. So we have very detailed measurements on all the interactions that happened.
And would you generally set it up as, excuse me, as a dedicated, so let's say, for example, somebody launches an event app. They're at an event, they launch the event app, you have the home screen or the first page of the app. Would you generally have suggest that there is some sort of button or something that really clearly says, you know, digital goodie bag available here, and they would click and then move you through to the actual Fanomena, app itself, the presentation that you deliver, or would you have that embedded into various different parts of the event app?
So yeah, the process that you described probably is the most seamless one. So one of our largest customers is the Wings for Life World Run, which is by Red Bull. So it's a global running event, and they use an app, and we integrate it in. And for them, it's when you open the app, one of the main tabs on the left side is digital goodie bag. And when they open that, they don't even have to leave the app, but within the app, they get access to our solution and all the different offers from sponsors that are available for the runners.
Right. So it works very well. I mean, one thing, again, I'm firing sort of questions and thoughts at you, but this is what's coming to mind. There are so many different platforms now available that all have APIs that are developed that allow them to integrate with the main event app, and that could be one-to-one meeting solutions. It could be third-party floor planners that provide great 3D maps of the inside of a venue. It could be solutions like yours for digital goodie bags. Did you have to consider carefully when designing this particular platform the fact that organisers will already be bombarded with multiple different platforms that they're trying to integrate together? And was there a conscious effort to maybe make it as seamless and as simple as possible so that it wouldn't present any additional headaches?
No, absolutely. That's also why we came up with an open API. So it was always meant from the beginning to be able to adjust to a lot of environments, especially since we developed the product for ourselves, and we still develop everything in-house. So we can make a lot of adaptations, and we really wanted to listen to the customers at first, as a startup especially, and then adapt to what their needs are. And I think right now we're in a good stage where we can tell, okay, this is how we can integrate our solution successfully and efficiently into an event app.
And what are some of the results so far? And I suppose prior to that, what I should ask you really is how much it has evolved. When it was launched as Eventbaxx and is now where it is now as Fanomena Events, has the platform changed dramatically, or when it was launched, were you fairly happy with how it sat and what it did, and it's just generally a rebranding that's happened of the platform?
No, that's funny actually, because I just had a look at the first platform we came up with a few days ago, and as a lookup right now, it was just a scarce of what we have right now, so just a small amount. So the solution evolved very much, and especially we really started by just trying to display what a goodie bag can do digitally. Mm-hmm. But then along with it, in the process of evolving it, there came in elements like this gamification I described before. And now we even launched a sponsor marketplace, which allows event organizers to look for additional sponsors for their events. So it has really emerged from just a goodie bag into a real sponsoring solution. And we're very proud of that. And that's also part of why we chose to rebrand it from Eventbaxx, which just stood for the goodie bag, into Fanomena Events, which is like a whole event solution.
It's interesting that on a recent episode of the Event Industry News podcast, we spoke to a guest who is a professional keynote speaker, but particularly in the subject of marketing. And he doesn't work in marketing anymore, so he offers a completely neutral and sort of unbiased view of how he sees the world of marketing. And we were talking about the different channels that are still available and to people nowadays, even with digital marketing available. And one of his thoughts was that event sponsorship is a great branding exercise, but historically has never been a great exercise for delivering direct response or lead generation. And it seems to me that in the process and through the process of what you've created here with this particular digital goodie bag, it's maybe bridging that or changing that landscape a little bit, that where a traditional goodie bag would just be a branding exercise, so that you would see loads and loads of people walking around a show floor with a branded bag. Yep. Now it has actually become an exercise that can generate direct response and can generate leads. And this leads to the question about whether or not you are able to capture data through the Fanomena Events platform, and whether or not you're actually able to provide physical leads, contact details back to sponsors, or whether or not it's just being able to provide them with statistics of how many people interacted.
Yeah, no. So as said, our statistics really go deep into this, and yeah, it's possible to capture leads, especially with the games that I just talked about. So
Sure.
saying leads visits the page and he interacts with the quiz or so, then we are allowed to even pass this data onto the sponsor or exhibitor. We can also capture leads through the technology. And
Yeah.
considering what you said before, so I agree with you that these goodie bags before, they were mainly just a matter to show, okay, this is our brand, etc. But with our solution, we really want to put the sponsor into the foreground because actually 90% of event organizers say that their main issue in that industry is satisfying and activating sponsors and exhibitors. So a new way to do it would be our solution, and it's really meant to give the sponsors more power
Hmm.
in, especially in reaching the target group, the attendees of the event.
Do you ever have a scenario where you have worked, have you worked in the situation where an organizer uses your solution, but still has sponsors who are wanting to do a traditional goodie bag solution? Or would you generally work in one scenario or the other?
No, we do have that situation, so especially large events that have done that for years. It's not like they say, okay, now the goodie bags are gone, but it's like a step-by-step process.
Yep.
And I think it's also a good thing to combine both parts. I mean, if these goodie bags work well for you, then our solution is just another channel that you can also provide your sponsors to satisfy them and to give them like a bit more measurability and a bit more direct access to the target group. In that way, also for organizers, what we try to help them with is like monetizing the event a bit more and to maximizing their sponsor revenue, because now they have an additional channel which they can also sell to their sponsors to also make more revenue for themselves. So it's a win-win for sponsors and for organizers.
But I mean, ultimately at the moment, I see the sustainability aspect as being a really important one.
Yeah,
It's becoming it has become a huge consideration within the events industry, whether that be trade fairs, conferences, music festivals, live interaction events, brand activation. However it's termed and whatever area of the events industry that it sits in, sustainability, reducing carbon footprint, reducing emissions, reducing waste is a vital consideration. And do you think at the moment that arguably all the technology to one side, the ultimate USP of what you guys are doing at the moment is that sustainability element and how it ties in with people's thinking at the moment?
yeah. So it kind of shifted towards that. So as said, it was the initial idea for founding that company because we saw how unsustainable it was to provide those goodie bags. So it's what we came up with, and now it's kind of emerging to the main USP, as you said. So it's actually funny because our current campaign, which we launched a few days ago, is on sustainability and really goes in that direction because we see that a lot of people, especially in the event industry, are getting more environmentally conscious, which is a very good thing. We can support them in going one step further to sustainable event creation.
Have you identified any other areas of events where you feel that this way of thinking can be applied by using a digital platform instead of a physical product? The goodie bag is the most obvious example, but do you have anything else that you can tell us that may be, a future development or a future addition to the current platform that you're already looking at?
Sure. So especially what a lot of our customers are currently doing is that they not just provide the sponsors advertisements in a digital way, but they also combine like information about the event, like a floor plan or also the flyers or magazines that are given out. They can also be included into our solution. And another factor of that is also that we can work a lot with personalization. So it's not that it's given out like one flyer that fits all, but we can work a lot with target group segmentation and like giving out the exact flyer that's relevant for this target group. So this is like a thing where we can also help event organizers in improving their communication at events.
Excellent. We've been talking on the podcast today to Lennart Hohneck. Lennart is the business unit lead for Fanomena Events, and Fanomena Events has recently rebranded from Eventbaxx to tie in with a number of other platforms and solutions that the Fanomena brand offers. I suppose we should touch, maybe, if you're okay to, briefly on some of the other Fanomena elements. Obviously, we've talked about Fanomena events and what that does in terms of linking organisers and sponsors together in the digital goodie bags. But to put it into context, just give us an idea of where the other Fanomena brands tie in and what they do.
Sure, why not? So with Fanomena in general, our goal really is to engage target groups, and the idea is to deliver relevant content to a relevant target group at the right time. And we do this in different areas. So the area that I'm responsible for is the events industry, which we just talked about. But the other two products that we have are Fanomena Leads and also Fanomena Talent, which do a similar thing in different sectors. So with Fanomena Leads, it's really about trade fair visiting and also trade fair follow-up, how we can digitize that and make it more, fit it into the digital age. And with Talent, it's for HR recruiting. So how to digitize recruiting and also capture relevant talent directly at your career page.
Excellent. And before we wrap up today, if anybody wants to find out a little bit more about Fanomena events, I'm sure that we've got event organisers who are listening to today's podcast who have on many occasions dealt with the goodie bag scenario and can empathise with some of the situations that we've presented today. So if anybody does want to get in touch with you via social media or via your website, how do they do that?
So our webpage currently is phenomena.io/events. So there you can find all information. We also have a section for organisers and for sponsors. So both sides can find all the important information right at our page. We also have an appearance on social media, so Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which the handle for all is like Fanomena Events as well. And one more thing that I would like to throw in is that we will be visiting the UK for the first time in February, end of February. So we'll be visiting the international context. So if anyone would like to meet us in person, it would be a great opportunity to do so right there.
Fabulous. And we should point out that Fanomena is spelled Fanomena. Fanomena is the spelling of Fanomena. So as Lennart has already alluded to, if you search on Google for Fanomena events or any of his favorite social media platforms, you will come across the company and be able to see what they're up to. And we will see you at Confex at the end of February. Our thanks to our guests today. And of course, if you are watching today's podcast via the eventindustrynews.com website, don't forget that you can go to your favorite podcast downloader app on your smartphone and listen to audio versions of all of the podcasts whilst you're out and about on site or on your commute to and from the office. Of course, if you are listening to today's podcast in your headphones, you can also go over to eventindustrynews.com, see video versions of all of our podcasts. And whilst you're on there, you can check out the latest news, features, content, and special supplements from Event Industry News. It brings us nicely to the end of today's episode. Our thanks once again to our guest today, Lennart Hohneck from Fanomena Events. My name is James Dixon, and we will see you on the next edition of the Event Industry News podcast. Thanks very much, and goodbye.